Christmas seals help protect every one of us, every man, woman, and child, from tuberculosis. And with TB striking 1 American every 7 minutes, it's up to all of us to fight back with Christmas seals.
In December of 1907, a single phone call between cousins Joseph Wales and Emily Bissell would break existing barriers in the common definition of philanthropy, uniting the nation against the common enemy, tuberculosis. This ancient disease, dating back to 8000 BCE, had withstood the test of time, returning again and again to claim victims by the millions, until eventually becoming the leading cause of death in the early 20th century. TB, also known as the White Plague, is characterized by fever, coughing, and weight loss, but most prominently, the wasting away of its victims. The only known treatment of the time came in 1885, when Edward Livingston Trudeau unintentionally discovered the benefits of a fresh, open environment on the disease, when he was cured after retreating to his cabin in the countryside to die. After spending weeks in his cabin regaining his strength, he began treating others in a similar manner, and thus, the modern sanatorium was born. From that point on, sanatoriums were opened all over the world, with varying degrees of success. While each sanatorium was unique, they all faced a common struggle in the form of funding. Sanatoriums were essential to the eradication and containment of the disease, but the cost of maintaining such an operation quickly became astronomical. The Brandywine Sanatorium in Wilmington, Delaware was certainly no exception to this phenomenon. The institution had fallen on hard times, operating with limited staff and struggling to meet the costs needed to continue to treat the 8 charity patients in their care. At this rate, the sanatorium would never make it through winter, forcing the afflicted to be sent home to their families, where they would inevitably infect their loved ones, sentencing them to almost certain death. Knowing this simply could not happen, Joseph Wales, the man in charge of the institution, made the fateful phone call to his cousin, Emily Bissell, pleading for her to help save the sanatorium. Emily Bissell, never one to shy from a challenge, began her work immediately. While the fight to save the sanatorium would be her largest project yet, it certainly would not be her first. A champion for fundraising and social work, by the age of 40, she had already founded the West End Reading Room, assisted with associated charities, and helped lead the Delaware chapter of the American Red Cross, making her famous for both her compassion and her success. Her reputation was furthered by her interaction with her cousin, as she instantly had a plan to save the sanatorium. Bissell recalled reading an article by Jacob Riis, journalist and social reformer, about Copenhagen, Denmark, and their success in raising money for children with TB in 1903. Riis explained that Christmas seals, small, decorative stickers for postage, sold for almost nothing, were the force behind this effort. Bissell, intrigued by the idea, wanted to make the campaign her own and expand it to America. Early 20th century America was still recovering from the Gilded Age, as the poor struggled their way out of poverty while the outrageously wealthy controlled every institution in America. Billionaires pledged money to organizations they deemed important, ultimately shaping American ideals. Bissell, seeing this trend, knew there had to be a way to surpass the barrier of billionaires monopolizing America and reach the untapped potential of the common people. With this goal in mind, Bissell launched her barrier-breaking Christmas seal project in 1907. She began with a simple sketch, a half-wreath of holly centered around a red cross donning the words Merry Christmas. Excited about her design, she brought the sketch to the Red Cross for endorsement but was turned away. While they refused to offer financial assistance, they did grant her permission to use the emblem of the organization on the seal. She received $40 from friends, design assistance from a local artist, and was able to make a deal with a local printer who offered to do the job at a low cost. With this aid, Bissell promptly ordered 50,000 Christmas seals, bright red on white paper, to be sold for a penny each. Those who heard of her efforts laughed at the idea that Bissell would be able to raise $300 penny by penny with her stamps. Spurred by the doubters, Bissell sprang into action, advertising the seals to the entire state of Delaware, pleading her case to clubs, schools, churches, businesses, and anyone else who would listen. Before the seals had even left the printer, the whole state was aware of the upcoming war against TB and how they could help. On December 9, 1907, her hard work came to fruition when she finally took her seat at the Wilmington Post Office and began the first official sale of Christmas seals. While the first day saw plenty of profit, the pace was not nearly fast enough if she was to reach $300 in time to save the sanatorium. Apparently, her personal advocacy of the seals was not enough. She did not panic, however, as she knew the newspaper, the most prominent media outlet of the time, could certainly get her point across. With that thought, the next day she made an appointment with the Philadelphia paper, The North American, where she asked for a piece about her campaign. While she met with some opposition, she eventually found success with columnist Lee Hodges, who saw the genius in her plan. Excitedly, he proclaimed, "Here's a way to wipe out TB," and just like that, the North American was hers for the holidays. He promptly ordered 50,000 additional seals, and the real campaign began. When the article was released, the public responded with extreme enthusiasm. While most had little knowledge of TB and how to defeat it, everyone in the country had known someone impacted by the disease. These seals gave them a chance to act against the unbeatable foe they had never dreamed of standing against. The excitement over Christmas seals was so great, it even reached the White House, causing President Theodore Roosevelt to personally endorse the campaign. In only a few weeks, over $3,000 was raised, well over the $300 goal. The Brandywine Sanatorium was saved, but the demand for seals did not dwindle as Christmas came to a close, allowing Bissell to extend the sale through January by adding the words Happy New Year to the design. The country was in full support, and all wished to raise more money to fight against the deadly disease, prompting Bissell to begin planning the campaign for next year's holiday season. It was decided that each year, a new design would don the seals, allowing the public to enter each holiday season with a renewed excitement to purchase the festive stamps.
Ah, this is what I've been waiting for. Christmas seals.
Sales increased as the years went on, with the campaign raising $135,000 in 1908, $250,000 in 1909, and eventually reaching over $5.5 million in 1929. This was a phenomenon never before seen in America. For the first time, the country had come together to raise money little by little to make an incredible impact on a single cause.
Tuberculosis in the early 20th century was a disease that was not well understood. There wasn't much in the way of treatment. There was stigma about it. So for somebody, and it happened to be Emily Bissell of Wilmington, Delaware, to take it on, I think was a barrier that was broken. And the fact that it went national and became so successful so quickly, I think says that people were ready to finally really attack tuberculosis.
As the Progressive Era dawned and the Gilded Age faded away, Americans were used to relying on billionaires to fund solutions to the pressing issues of the country. However, the 1% had not yet addressed the issue of TB, so the people took the responsibility upon themselves. This was truly a campaign for the other 99%, those who cared for public well-being but did not have the means to make impactful change on their own. The campaign demonstrated the collective power of the American public like never before, and thus the philanthropic practice of mass philanthropy, otherwise known as crowdfunding, was born. As the campaign raged on, the fight against TB grew stronger with the help of the gathered funds. The impact was first seen when general knowledge of the disease grew in the years after 1907. It was next seen when the American Lung Association were able to provide chest x-rays and tuberculin tests for millions all over the country, catching thousands of cases before they became deadly. However, the peak of the campaign came in 1949 with the discovery of the antibiotic streptomycin. In the years following this discovery, the death rate of TB slowly but surely began to fall to the measly 500 deaths per year it is today, and continues to decrease by 2% every year. The unbeatable foe had finally been defeated due to the generosity of the lower class and the barrier-breaking nature of the crowdsourced campaign. The war against TB was over, but the groundbreaking philanthropic practices developed during this 50-year campaign would continue expanding and growing to encompass issues of every kind. Other organizations, inspired by the Christmas Seal campaign, began using mass philanthropy as well, as seen most prominently by Easter Seals, which were developed to help people with disabilities, and the March of Dimes, created by FDR to improve the health of mothers and babies. With billionaires no longer preventing the common man from investing in matters of societal significance, new opportunities for involvement were created for the poor. As best stated by Jacob Riis, no millionaire wanted to do it. It was far better done by the people themselves. While the original company may not be as impactful as it once was, mass philanthropy, the practice developed as a result of the campaign, continues to evolve every day. In its most modern form, it can be seen in practice in the popular website GoFundMe, where users can create personal fundraisers and others can contribute to their cause for as little as $1 at a time. Much like the Christmas Seal campaign, donations of small amounts accumulate quickly, resulting in totals reaching millions of dollars to support a worthy cause. Although it may not be obvious, the impact of the Christmas Seal campaign is felt every day as the world around us is funded by the common people. Unknown to Joseph Wales at the time, his fateful 1907 phone call would spark a campaign that would break philanthropic barriers and greatly influence society for years to come.